Hi. So prior to installing, Uh, uh, I'm the PC expert amateur. Prior to installing the CPU, you need to look at if your CPU is one of the newer, really hot ones. These are CPUs that are generally designed to run at 95 degrees Celsius for optimum performance. That doesn't mean they will run at optimum speeds because the temperature in your room or where your computer is located will definitely impact maximum speeds because it'll affect the temperature, which and so on and so forth. Now, there's a problem with two things. Number one is sometimes you have trouble controlling temperatures, like on K for Intel, for example, you'll have trouble with the CPUs that are K or KS or KF in the i7 to i9 range, and on AMD, some the two higher level ones or the top level ones are also going to sometimes have some problems. It depends on which model it is, and I'm not as familiar with the AMD models as I am with the Intel models. So two things can happen. One is it can overheat, which means it's going to throttle and it's going to slow down your CPU to protect it from overheating. If it can't do that, if it cannot control temperatures, it'll shut off your computer. You don't want that. The other problem is the standard mounting bracket on CPU or on motherboards like this one. Sorry, wrong way. This thing here where you see my CPU is, that is actually with Intel CPUs, it tends over time to bend the CPU. Now you're thinking, well, how can that happen? That's solid. You can't bend it, it'll break. Well, if it's cold, yeah, you can't bend it. You're going to break it if you try. But because you're heating it's heating itself up to 95 degrees Celsius, the temperature is going to make it more malleable. And because of the way the mounting bracket is designed, the mounting bracket does not put equal pressure on all parts of the CPU. As a consequence, it'll bend downward, I believe it is, in the middle of the CPU, where, again, let me show you the. So if you see those two tabs in the middle there, those are being pushed down by the mounting bracket. And that means that that's the area where it's going to be bending, and it'll not necessarily even warp it like in a line. It may warp it in kind of an oval shape or something like that, but it will warp it. And the 13th generation are even more vulnerable to that than the 12th generation. So companies like Thermalright, and now many other companies that are copycats are putting out these mounting brackets for Intel that help to correct that problem. And I've got one from Thermalright because Thermalright charges like, I think it's $30-$40 for one of these. And Thermalright, maybe a quarter of that, like maybe $10. Depends. You can probably get it for $10 for Intel. And I got really lucky. I paid, I think, $10 for this, and I got both the bracket and thermal paste from Thermalright, the TF7 thermal paste, which is pretty good stuff. So I'm going to take this out right now. I can't actually demonstrate how to install this, but this, if you can see, it does still have, let me turn that like that. It does still have the tab things here, but it goes all the way around the CPU and pushes on all four of the sides equally. So it's much less likely to cause warping of the CPU than the traditional mounting bracket. Now, here's the thing about this. In order to use this, you cannot use the built-in ILM or mounting bracket. You're going to have to remove it. Now, it's not a big deal because, and this is another thing to think about when you're choosing the mounting bracket. You want to make sure if it doesn't have to come with thermal paste. I'm just happy to have extra thermal paste around because I do this stuff for my hobby. But you want to make sure it has an appropriate hex wrench so that you can actually remove the screws that are holding the ILM to the motherboard. Otherwise, you're going to have to go out and buy one. And so make sure when you buy it that it includes a hex wrench for removing the ILM and installing the replacement mounting bracket. This is called some places call this an anti-warping or anti-bending or frame. Some have different other names for it. It just depends. From them, they call it the bending correct frame. They're located in Southeast Asia, so forgive them for not having perfect English. So you want to remove all. You don't want to have the CPU installed, and if you already have installed, you're going to want to uninstall it. Just open up the ILM and carefully remove the CPU without damaging anything, and store it in the container it came with. And then once you've done that, you'll want to remove the 4 screws from the ILM and install this with the same 4 screws. And you want to make sure you have it oriented the right way. There's an arrow there that is a reminder to you of the correct way to do that. If you do it the wrong way, well, you're going to regret it. Now, some of these mounts are for 12th and 3rd generation CPUs. I'm not sure if there are any for 14th generation, although I would imagine that there should be, and that they should be the same. But I haven't checked into that yet. But you may think, well, I'm not having any problems with my temperatures. I never get up into the 90s. And if you're not having problems with the temperatures, then you probably don't have as much to worry about. However, it's safer to take the time to replace the ILM with one of these anti-bending mounts in order to protect your investment, because CPUs are not inexpensive. And for most people, this is a significant investment. My investment into my niece's computers is quite significant for me. But I want to really help her to move forward with her life. And so just keep that in mind. For AMD, you don't need this kind of amount. With Intel CPUs, the heat comes primarily from the chips in the middle. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, the new AMD CPUs have chips that are off to the side. I believe it's what we might call the bottom side. And so they're offset chips instead of being centralized. And that means that if you install a CPU cooler that is designed to focus on cooling the center of the CPU's plate, you're going to have a problem because it's not effectively going to catch the heat from the side where the chips actually are, or chiplets they call them. So you need an offset mount. Now, if you have an Noctua product, Noctua will, I believe, send you a free offset mount. You'd have to double check with them just to make sure. Don't quote me on it because I don't represent Noctua. But as far as I know, they will send a free offset mount for you if you're going to be using it with an AMD chip that has the chiplets on the one side. Other companies may or may not provide it for free. They may sell it. There may also be third-party offset mounts out there now. Since I don't have any AMD CPUs at this time, it's not really something that I've looked into. But the offset mount is going to cool off your AMD chip just by the fact that it's reorienting the CPU cooler over the hottest part of the CPU. And that's basically it. If you have any questions or anything, please let me know. And if you want, I will. I'm not trying to like profit off of this, but if you guys need me to, I can put links in the description for products like this and the offset mounts for the AMD CPUs in the description. Just let me know if that's something that you need. And maybe I can earn an affiliate thing off of it. I don't know. I don't have any affiliations at this time. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you with the next video.